Welcome back. You're watching The Mint. I'm Andy Hodges, and this is Etienne Prime. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Zimbabwe, or Icaz, says there is room for the country to achieve enhanced accountability, transparency, and a viable public sector accounting system with the adoption and implementation of International Public Accounting Standards, or IPSAS. The Institute is complementing the government of Zimbabwe in this regard as part of efforts to enhance transparency and accountability within public finance management. Icaz hosted the 8th Public Sector Convention in Gweru recently, which gave an opportunity for key stakeholders to discuss the progress of the implementation of IPSAS in line with international benchmarks. Icaz President Bryce Musendo said the convention was a much-needed initiative to fast-track its implementation.
This was a fruitful convention in the sense that it helped us understand or to take stock of what has been happening in the public sector in terms of the implementation of the international accounting standards of the public sector. What I have seen in the convention was curiosity from the part of practitioners in terms of wanting to learn and their commitment to seeing the project through. We also had participation from the relevant ministries, Ministries of Finance, in the Economic Development and Investment Promotion, Ministry of Local Governments and Public Works, as well as the Office of the Auditor General. We had a candid discussion about issues that they are currently working with in terms of getting up to speed in terms of implementation. We had also a chance to benchmark what we are doing here in Zimbabwe with what is happening elsewhere in Rwanda. It was a good case study, and it also allowed us to reflect on the progress that we have made so far and the issues that we have to address. What we also learned in this conference was that there are some underlying issues from the Office of the Auditor General which would also need to be addressed for us to be ready for implementation of IPSAS. In addition to that, we're also privileged to have some presentation from the Office of the Auditor General in St. Helena that also allowed us to compare the practices here in Zimbabwe and benchmark our nation to what is happening elsewhere. Overall, it was a successful convention, and it was a full participation from all the relevant affected people, and we hope that whatever they've learned they can take away from this convention as we continue to professionalize people in the public sector.
Now, Elchard Business School is accredited by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Zimbabwe to offer the Public Sector Professional Accountant Zimbabwe qualification. Elchard Business Managing Director L.S. Mukunyadze had this to say.
Elchard Business School, we are in partnership with Icaz as it is rolling out the qualification on Public Sector Professional Accountant. This qualification was largely in response to support government. In 2019, government adopted International Public Sector Accounting Standards, which will be used in the whole of the public sector. And one of the key things that was identified was the need to build capacity within accountants in the public sector. So the Institute then came up with this new qualification, which is the Public Sector Professional Accountant. As the Elchard Business School, we provide tuition for students and we take them through that program so that they're able to write the Icaz exams. Now, just talking a little bit more about this conference, which is really themed being future ready. We are looking at the future and we see the challenges and opportunities that are in the future, and also the need to set a high bar for transparency and accountability in public resources. So one of the key takeaways is, as accountants operating in the public sector, is the need to be competent, to be able to rise to the challenges that are coming. We've had very good presentations from different speakers. We're equipping all the delegates here around how they can be better and be able to deliver on the mandate that they have. We're also talking about some of the key issues that are affecting entities in the public sector. We're talking about reporting issues, auditing issues. We've seen entities that are still behind when it comes to financial statements. We've seen a lot of audit issues that keep coming up and are not being resolved. And one of the objectives was to engage and say, how can we support each other in terms of making sure that we are delivering on the role of accountants, which is primarily to produce financial statements, which are the primary tool for demonstrating transparency and accountability.
Says it will continue to implement the necessary reforms for sustainable reporting, enhanced transparency and accountability in state entities in line with Vision 2030 targets. Now, a core-based Ipsos is focused on recognizing the assets that the government has, unlike at present, where the country's balance sheet or the government's balance sheet only shows liabilities, both domestic and foreign debt. The adoption of the Ipsos framework complements the Transitional Stabilization Program, TSP, and the National Development Strategy 1's recognition of the role of timely reporting in financing the transformation of the economy towards the national vision. Ministry of Finance Project Implementation for Ipsos Secretary Precious Mugumbate takes us through the journey stakeholders went through implementing Ipsos.
We have started the Ipsos roadmap from 2019 January 1st to 2025 December 31. And during the 7-year journey, we have managed to come up with the implementation strategy and plan, which is mapping the roadmap in the Ipsos implementation. And the roadmap is trying to address the strategies and the action plans which we are going to undertake in the progress of Ipsos implementation. So we have come up with entities which were scoped in the circular number 4 of 2022, where entities were given the direction on which entities are supposed to be reporting using Ipsos and which ones are supposed to be reporting using IFRS. So if entities which are supposed to be using Ipsos and the entities which are supposed to be using Ipsos, they've adopted Ipsos as of the 1st of January 2023. And for 2023 financial statements, 2024, they're supposed to be the transitional form. And we're also expecting 2025 financial statements to be Ipsos compliant. So in the Ipsos journey, we have also tasked entities to come up with their implementation matrix, whereby they are also highlighting the strategies that they are supposed to be taking in the process of implementing Ipsos at entity level. And the ministries and the entities, ministries, local authorities and SOEs, and also commissions and other agencies, they're supposed to come up with their own Ipsos implementation team. At national level, we have the National Implementation Team, which is headed under the Accountant General. And we also have the entities having their own implementation teams at entity level. So the entities are supposed also to come up with their strategy on how they are supposed to be implementing Ipsos. As you know, we have issues to do with the balance sheet, the issues to do with assets, which comprises a major part of our financial reporting. So entities are expected to come up with strategies on how they're supposed to bring the assets on board. We have issued illustratives for the asset registers, and we have also trained how they are supposed to populate information on the asset registers. So entities are using the asset registers. They are also aligning the expected headings on the asset registers to their systems. So we are training the entities on how they are supposed to be populating the information. We are also training entities on the standards.
Zimbabwe